Hey guys, so today's video is me talking about Tana Mongeau's recent podcast episode. There was just this one moment that like really pushed me over the edge to film this, and it's a collab with Trish, so that's really interesting. And I just feel like there's so much happening from that podcast, like not even Tana's being like scandalous or anything in it. She's just talking about a lot of things that are very like interesting, like from the perspective of a YouTuber in LA. She has probably like a lot of insight, so she's saying a lot of like quite interesting stuff, and it involves no other than Gabbie Hanna. Like there was this one tidbit about Gabbie Hanna that I was just like, wow, I have to do this again, I have to talk about her again, because it's just wild to me that this would happen. Anyway, my social media links will be in the description. Subscribe, hit that bell, like, comment for engagement, turn on post notifications because YouTube notifications are a little messed up, put them to all, and if you remember being subscribed, scroll down, subscribe. YouTube's going through a little bit of a moment, like it always is, so just make sure you are. And yeah, let's get into it. So Tana Mongeau has a podcast called Cancelled, and the first episode was just her with her co-hosts, and then this time she's got Trish on, because they do talk about the fact that they were never really that close and they never really spoke or did any collabs, and I'm assuming that's partly due to the awkwardness between them created by Jason, like Jason being in a relationship with Trish and in front of Trish saying that he'd rather do stuff with Tana, or that he would like to do stuff with Tana, not rather, but you know, that must have like made things really awkward between them. So I'm not surprised that they didn't really talk for all this time, because they're actually quite similar in character, if that makes sense. Like you'd think they would get along, but yeah, that was probably like a really awkward situation. And then they also mentioned, you know, David and Shane kind of quickly. I'll get into that in a minute, but obviously they kind of bonded over the cancellation of David in a sense, because obviously with people being called out from that vlog squad for doing inappropriate things, I feel like that opened up like the conversation between Tana and Trish for what they both went through. And it wasn't just like a Trisha thing or a Tana thing, they both went through stuff during like the Jason situation, all of that stuff. Then Trisha Paytas also talks about how like it's pretty funny that a bunch of episodes for podcasts that they film don't ever get released because it's either like too scandalous, too something, like they'd have to censor too much. So Trish mentions that they've been on podcasts before that haven't been released, and that they're hoping that this one actually does get released, and it did, because it's here for us to listen to. Tana also mentions how old Tana would have probably not shown up to this, or missed it, or slept through it, or you know, just flaked, because Tana was at the time really, you know, because Tana used to be really unprofessional and just like not really invested in things like this, and that kind of links to the next thing they talk about, which is Jordan. They mention him at the start of the podcast and then right towards the end, but I'll just condense it into one topic. So they talk about Jordan. Tana has a new manager, and she's had a new manager for a while. I remember right after MTV's wrapped up like the filming with Tana, she went through like a very bad mental health moment. I remember talking about it when I was like reviewing the MTV series, and then she filmed a video on how bad her mental health got, and then right after that, like shortly after, she dropped Jordan and then got with the new management, but she never actually said why she dropped Jordan. There was just like a few likes on Twitter, like a few subtweets, a few things that we kind of like snooped around for, but it wasn't ever like a statement of, I'm not working with Jordan because of this and this, and I have this new management. She just kind of like moved on, and we all just kind of forgot that this happened. But obviously Jordan played like a huge role in her life. Like he seemed to be almost family to her. So this was really weird that she would drop him without an explanation. But Trish obviously mentions how they were also managed by Jordan in the past, and they kept on pushing for Tana to say something about Jordan, because I'm assuming they both had a very similar experience. I'm assuming Trish was like, she probably has the same experience as me, let me ask her about it so that, you know, we can have this bonding experience. So Trish kept on like pushing for the answer, and Trish says, you know, like, why did you move on from Jordan? And Tana tries to take the like non-scandalous route and basically says that the new management found her at her lowest and basically took her out of like a really dark moment in her life and like helped her out, helped to get more professional, helped to get more coordinated, and that, you know, she's been doing great ever since. So it's clearly working for her. And Trish mentions how they were both managed by Jordan, and they go, yeah, it's pretty interesting how we're both managed by Jordan, now we're both not managed by Jordan. Then towards the end, Tana jokes about lawyers coming in and telling her to stop talking, because Trish goes, as the last question, why did you drop Jordan? And Tana says, I will say a sentence, and I feel like our answer to this question will be exactly the same. Are you owed money? And then she mentions professionalism and being appropriate. So we can kind of like add things together here, right? I'm assuming they didn't get money from maybe like brand deals. A lot of managers, if you have a manager on or you sign to a management, money goes through them then to you. Like it never goes directly to you because they take a cut of the money. So a lot of times people get screwed in Hollywood because of management. They'll take funds, and let's say they get paid, you know, throughout the month, and then they have a set day that they send you all the money on. By that day, some of the managers have already spent all of the money and they have no money to send you. I remember there was this big case, I'll look it up and I'll put the company up on the screen. I don't know why I just blanked, like this wasn't in my notes. But this is one company that was a management. It wasn't a manager, it was a management. And all of it, you have to sign over your AdSense account to the management. So your AdSense goes through them, they take their cut, and then they send you the rest, if that makes sense. And I remember Defy Media? I remember people just didn't get paid out. Like millions of dollars were not paid out because then they just filed for bankruptcy and people essentially lost their money that they would have made for months of like working. So yeah, it's kind of like a sketchy thing. I don't know why you can't get the money and then just pay them the 10%. I don't know why, because in reality you have more to lose than they do. Like they have 10% to lose, you have 90%. So it kind of would make sense for the person that gets the most money to get the money and then send over the small amount, rather than the person who's owed the least amount of money to then send over a big chunk of money. I don't know, I just feel like that's really strange. But yeah, so they mentioned how obviously they didn't get any money. I'm assuming he owes them stuff for maybe like brand deals or stuff like that. Then she mentions professionalism and being appropriate. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but hopefully one day we'll find out. But it seems like lawyers are involved in some way, shape or form, because they, you know, Tana kept on like trying to not answer, and usually she's very like open about drama and scandal. She doesn't like care if someone finds out stuff. But this time she was like, yeah, lawyers are telling me no. So I'm assuming there might be some legal action taking place, like she could be suing Jordan for the money. I don't know. Moving on. OnlyFans. They mention tapes of certain kind being filmed. Once again, they're not allowed to talk about it, so that's cool. But you guys get what I'm saying. Tapes being filmed, and she mentions Jake Paul. Jake Paul, of all people, to do this with. Yeah. That was an interesting thing to find out. Apparently they were like planning to do it. They were like putting it into escrow so no one screws over anyone for money. And then she mentions how that was supposed to go through, and Trisha's like, oh, you could still do it. Like it could still really like do well. Like it would bang. And Tana mentions how they're not on good terms. And I was going to talk about this in a different video, but I guess I'll just add it in here. Tana was just having some drama and some beef with Jake Paul again. So Jake Paul kept on, I feel like since they got married and then like separated, he's been like shading Tana a lot in some like pretty disrespectful ways. I feel like he's constantly just like making her out to be not a great person. And this time he filmed this TikTok. I'll play it for you guys. And he calls her a sloth, and then she duets it and responds to it. And she says that she's this close to filming an Alyssa Violet video when Alyssa Violet exposed Jake Paul. And I wonder what she knows about him, and I feel like maybe it will take like 1 or 2 more things for him to do for her to snap and do this video, and I'm like excited to see it. Actually, quite frankly, I want to know what went wrong between them. So that happened. She also tweeted and subtweeted and then deleted a few things about him, kind of just shading him after he posted that TikTok. But there seems to be some drama going on. Then we have Khloe Kardashian. So in her first episode of the podcast, she apologizes to Khloe and says that the way she phrased a tweet, which was, Tana was at a party, Tristan Thompson shows up, Tristan being the dad of True, Khloe's daughter. Obviously Tristan's been caught cheating on Khloe multiple times, and he shows up at this party, stuff happens. Tana then tweets, I just saw Tristan like show up as one of the first people at the party, so he's clearly excited to be there. Why are you not home with True? She then gets called out by a stan account that quote tweets that tweet and basically calls Tana. Khloe then likes that tweet, and then people basically have a go at Tana for a little bit for bringing a baby into a situation that wasn't to do with the baby. Tana then clarifies in last podcast that she brought True into it because it was actually Father's Day weekend. No one really knew if they were separated at the time, so it seemed like he was still in a relationship with Khloe. Father's Day weekend, and he's going to a party full of like IG models and YouTubers and little celebrities or something, behaving in a way that she said didn't look like someone who's in a relationship. So that's why she brought True into it, because she was like, it was Father's Day weekend, why are you out partying when you could be with your daughter at home? She says, you know, she apologized to True, she apologized to Khloe, and in this episode she mentions how she apologized, but then she saw that Khloe actually took the stan that shaded Tana out to lunch. She was like, that's just really weird. But anyway, that was that. They mentioned Shane Dawson. She mentions the video where she says how at the time she can't exactly pinpoint how old she was, and I feel like if we went back and we saw the dates, right, we could definitely figure it out. But she's like, yeah, I could have been like 18 years old in a day or something. But it sounds like she was like on the verge of not being an adult or being an adult. If that makes sense. Like she was on the verge. And she says that because of the turbulent life that she lives and all the scandals that she gets into and how open she is about herself. A lot of the time she can't talk about things that are traumatic to her because people almost downplay it because they're like, well, you're okay with this. So why aren't you okay with this? Like, why would we need to cancel that person if you did all of this stuff? But it's like, if she agreed to all of this, and not this one thing, and this one thing is the wrong thing, if that makes sense. Like she's allowed to agree to all of this stuff while also not wanting this. She was also very young at the time, new to Hollywood. Shane Dawson was literally her idol. Like she was watching him when she was a kid, and it definitely influenced some of the stuff that she did. She even looks back on her life now and says that a lot of the stuff that she did back, you know, when she was like 18, 19, isn't stuff that she would do now or stuff that she would feel comfortable doing now. But she did it at the time just because it was like the cool thing to do and everyone expected her to be like that, and she was new and she just wanted to be liked, and I feel like that's like a trap that a lot of people fall into when they're in a new place. And then we get to Gabbie Hanna. Okay, so Tana Mongeau, it was Playlist Live. She was she says she was 18-ish around that time. It was kind of like same age situation as Shane. She's not sure if she was fully like underage or if she was over the age of 18, but she was somewhere around that time, so like very young essentially. And this 20 something, well, she didn't say exact age, but she was like very much older than me, tried to, you know, flirt with me, hit on me, hook up with me. It never happened. She said nothing ever happened, and they're friends now. She realized this was like the wrong thing to do at the time, but they're friends now and nothing ever really happened that was like traumatic or illegal. Then we obviously fast forward, we get Gabbie Hanna's series that she did, and Gabbie Hanna's episode on Escape the Night gets released, so she drags Joey and Daniel. They then drag her right back, including everyone else. Like everyone else, they're dragging them too. Some people didn't make full-on public statements, but they liked public statements by Joey, Daniel, etc. Tana Mongeau liked a statement made by Daniel Prada on the whole situation, and he made a statement before he did a video. She liked that, so it was in her likes on Twitter, everyone saw it. But Tana was actually on Escape the Night season 2 and season 4 along with Gabbie Hanna, so she was there for all of it, and she admits that she was a pain to work with at season 2, but she was very young. She was like 18, and then at season 4 she was actually very good to work with, and Daniel said that in his video. He said she was very professional, always up for anything. Like she was, you know, very just like doing whatever they asked her to do. And they mention how Tana was very uncomfortable by Gabbie Hanna on set, how Gabbie kept on trying to compete with her, because I guess Gabbie thought that they were the closest in like content, so it was almost like Tana was like the highest competition that Gabbie had at the time. So they mention obviously how there's a lot of competition, and Gabbie was very mean to Tana. Like she kept on pushing her and like pressing her buttons, and that happens. So Tana likes the tweet. Apparently Tana said this in this podcast, that she went to cry to Joey because of how mean Gabbie Hanna was to her. Then she likes this tweet about Escape the Night from Daniel Prada. That was her statement publicly. She made no other statements. Fast forward to now, Gabbie Hanna tries to sell a story about Tana Mongeau having sex with an adult while she's underage to some newspaper magazine type of situation. And Tana finds this out through some kind of a manager, through some kind of a situation. She blurs out the name that she says, but someone gives her a call and says Gabbie Hanna is trying to sell a story about this guy at Playlist Live to a magazine. Now, Tana then says, what if that was like a traumatic event for me? Like, what if she's trying to like literally sell a story to me without knowing whether that was traumatic or not to me? Like, she's trying to do this because she's angry at me, or she's trying to drag me, or something like that. But like, one, Tana's not at fault in that situation, so it doesn't make Tana look bad, it makes that guy look bad. 2, what if that was a traumatic event that Tana does not want to talk about and she'll be forced to talk about? 3, trying to sell a story about someone's a crime. Like if Gabbie truly wasn't okay with what happened, she could have easily made a public statement just saying, hey, I saw this happening at a Playlist Live, and I just want to say that I'm not okay with this, and I want to protect other people, so I will speak about this publicly just to make sure that no one else gets trapped into this situation with this person. But to secretly try to sell a story to a publication, to drag someone, oh my god. So that happened. I just think it's disgusting, honestly. And Tana says that she was scared to talk about Gabbie Hanna in that whole situation. So she said, you know, I liked a few tweets and I was like a little bit shady, because she's scared to talk about Gabbie because she did try to be friendly with her on set. And she tries to be friendly with her anyway because she was so uncomfortable, and she was so like, the working environment was so toxic and so uncomfortable that Tana just tried to do anything to be friendly with her. So she says there are some messages between us where I'm trying to be friendly with her and it seems like we're friends, but we're not. I'm just scared of her. Like, I just wanted to be nice to her to make the working environment for all of us much better, because it was really awkward on set. She's like, and I'm scared that if I spoke about her, Gabbie would then bring up text messages and be like, but we were friends. And it's just, to me, it looks like the same situation with Trisha Paytas. Like, she's friends with whoever she's friends with when it suits her, and she's not friends with whoever she's not friends with when it also suits her. So with Trish called Gabbie crazy for being obsessed with her. And then Gabbie combated that and said, well, here's messages between me and Trish that make us look like friends. Okay, fair enough. People believed her. Whatever the case was, there's those messages. But then Jessie Smiles calls out Gabbie Hanna. Gabbie Hanna then turns around in her most recent series and says, actually, we were not friends. Ever. We were not friends, and then we became roommates. I lived with her. We hung out for a few months, but we were never best friends. I don't know why I'm being called out for this when we weren't even friends. Yeah, you weren't friends in 2014, 2015 when the story first broke, but you lived with her for 9 months after that, and you hung out, you went to dinner, you had the same friends. To me, that's a friendly environment. To me, that's friends. Maybe not even best friends, but like friends. So she likes to downplay that relationship. And then with Tana, if Tana came out with a video against Gabbie Hanna, Gabbie would then probably put up text messages between her and Tana and be like, well, we were friends, so why would you do this to me? We were friends. When Tana was like, I was only friendly with you because things were really awkward. And then Tana also mentions how she also has ADHD, and it doesn't make her an awful human being the way it does with Gabbie. She says, I do things, but I don't do them because of ADHD. It's not an excuse for my behavior. So that's that on that. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. I think it's disgusting, quite honestly. And yeah, just let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, hit that bell, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.